of Aberdeen, which is an area in the south of the city with about 17,500 people. It's a very mixed demographic, like much of the rest of our city, and we're looking for ways to break into that. What I want to do today is just take these 6 minutes and 40 seconds to share a little bit of our journey this first year with us. Over 400% growth, so plant churches. From 3 to 13 people, let's not get excited. Let's be honest as well. Church planting's hard work. We've grown from 3 to 13. Most of those people were believers. Some of them had slipped away from church. But the reality is, that's the last tall tale I'm going to tell you today. The truth is, our journey this year has looked a bit more like this. Up and down. What is that? Well, it could be this. Maybe we're on life support. And if I'm perfectly honest, there have been moments this year that church planters felt like we're on life support. Some people have left us because of job change or whatever, which has left us in a place of feeling really vulnerable. That is part of the journey of church planting. But I'm glad to say that's not the main aspect of what we've seen this year. This is a much better picture. Actually, this outlines an adventure. Sometimes pushing uphill, but actually sometimes also getting to experience the joy of standing on the top of that hill and see what is going on around us. What does that mean in practice? Well, I want to share really 2 things with you today. The first is this, that good mission begins with good discipleship. This film that you're going to see is just going to run in the background, there's no sound. It's just a typical evening. We had a friend come and film it so that you can see a little bit of what we're doing. What have we done when we're talking about good discipleship? Well, we've focused on the whole of life discipleship. These guys all have jobs somewhere else. They all have lives that exist outside the Thursday evening that we meet on at the moment. How do we equip them to be missionaries in the place that they are? Whether that's a law office, we have a social worker among us, we have a doctor, we have people who are teachers. How do we equip them to be missionaries there? And so we've spent most of this year actually looking at how we do that. We've used a program called Reframe, which I can highly recommend to you. The other thing is, just as the video is playing there, you can see we're taking communion. Eucharist has become the absolute centre point of what we do. Because as we share a meal, one of the most mundane things you can do, just sharing a meal together, just talking about the life that you've had that week, the things that you're doing, suddenly the sacred breaks into the middle of it. Suddenly it's no longer a mundane act, but becomes the most sacred act. And we find Jesus in the middle of it. And so for us, that's become, in some ways, a real symbol of what we're trying to do with our discipleship. In the mundane acts of our life, of dropping our kids at school, of going to the shops, of getting our hair cut, how do we go about simply finding the sacred in the middle of that? Finding Jesus in the middle of that? I want you, rather than me telling you a whole lot more, I want you to listen to one of the members of our church. And really what she's going to tell you is that we've tried to change our language this year. We recognise that in discipleship, we had a whole bunch of people who were struggling to connect their faith with the world that they lived in. And so we tried to begin to think about how do we communicate this whole story of Scripture, this incredible narrative that we are part of now. How do we help communicate that into these guys and help them to also be able to communicate in our world? So this is Rebecca who's going to tell you her story.
So I tend to work with one other crewmate, my typical shift, and there was one in particular where I was on the phone and I happened to mention the word church. So she said, "So what religion are you?" And I thought, well, I'm not going to answer that question. So I said, well, I believe that God exists. I believe that He's real. I believe that He created the heavens and the earth. I'm a scientist, so whether that was in 7 days, I'll hold that lightly. She's nodding already. So, in the earth, God created humans. He created us for relationship. So the famous verse 2, Adam and Eve, But the problem was that they disobeyed God. They turned away from him. And that broke everything. That broke the relationship, and that broke everything that God created. So then in the rest of the Old Testament, so the first big chunk of the Bible, God chooses a people and he pursues them. They keep disobeying, they keep turning away, but he pursues them. They disobey, turn away, he pursues them. And it gets to the point where God's sort of like, well, I've had enough of this. I want to fix this relationship once and for all. And what he does is he sends his son, Jesus. And this is now the New Testament. So Jesus comes and he lives and he walks like a man, but he's also totally God. And what he does is he dies for us. And then he's raised to life. And in that movement, Jesus restores the relationship. And what it says in the Bible is all you have to do is believe that Jesus did that. And you will be saved. Your disobedience and your turning away will not matter. The relationship is restored. So if you want to maybe read a book of the Bible or look more into Jesus, and just let me know, I said to her. And we went about the rest of our shift. Now, for me, it was really helpful to tell that story from beginning to end. It was good for my faith, it affirmed it. But for the first time, I didn't just tell my story and try and slot God in. Actually, I told God's story and said how we slotted in. So for the first time, I made sense because I told God's story, rather than trying to explain how God makes sense by telling my story.
That's been a really significant thing for us, in that shift in language and understanding ourselves as part of a story. I'm now over time, I'm going to finish quickly with this. How have we done mission together? That's fine in terms of how we've done discipleship and mission as individuals. How have we done it together? Well, when we spoke to people in our area, when we listened to them, an area that has about 50% of people saying in the census they have no religion, what does it mean for us to reach them? Well, one of the biggest objections they had is they said the church always wants something from us. They want money for their buildings, they want money for their projects. And we could argue with them about that all day. So, well, that's not really what we decided we were just going to find ways to show that that wasn't the case. And so generosity for us became a way to do it. It was interesting, that's what Wes talked about this morning. And so at Christmas we found people who weren't getting much for Christmas, and we put together somewhat extravagant Christmas baskets and went and gave them. Just, here you go, this is from the church, and we just went away. Changes the conversation. We have an old disused railway line that's now a walking path and a cycling path that runs through our area. We go out and hand out bottles of water there. Some people take them, most people say, oh, I don't have any money. And then we say, well, we're giving it to you. Well, what do you want? Different conversation. We're from a church. Oh, do you want a donation? No. No! Just take the water! Some say, why would you do that? Well, we believe God has given us something, so it's good for us to give stuff away. Changes the conversation. We've done that with using our time to go to the lonely, cooking food for the sick. All of it with the goal of changing the conversation with a simple act of generosity. I will finish there. We just want to say thank you to the Baptist Union of Scotland for making this possible, to Hillview Community Church and Sherrickley Baptist Church, two local churches that have supported us in this, Tom Kettle who did the video, and loads of more people. Thank you.